So let's move on. We've done the offensive side of the ball. Let's look on defense. And this was one of those positions that was everybody was all about. I'm going to bring the D line, the edge with the tackles. We know Jalen Carter didn't go till 9. We know Tyree Wilson went to the Raiders at 7. But I want to bypass the two of them because both of them we kind of knew where they're going. We knew they were going to be up there higher. But I want to go back to something we talked about earlier, which both of our ideas of a terrible pick. And I love the guy. He could play, but nowhere near the 13th overall pick by the Packers.
No.
And Lucas Van Ness. And I just want to tell you some of the people he was picked up before. He was picked up before Myles Murphy, Falik Azuma, Isaiah Foskey, Keon White. He was picked up.
I had him below guys like Zach Harrison, Byron Young, like some guys that were considered third-round guys.
All the way down. So what? Help me understand this. As somebody and a team from your division, what possesses somebody to take this guy this early? What do you see that nobody else saw?
Well, if you turn on the tape, you see elite pass rush potential because almost every time he was on the field, he was wreaking havoc in the passing game. Right. That's the thing. I have a hard time drafting a guy in the first round that wasn't even a starter at a spot like D-line where there's 4 guys starting at Iowa.
Right.
Like, I get that he was a pass rush specialist, but again, you didn't crack the starting lineup, and I was supposed to give you millions upon millions of dollars. That's where I understand the talents and everything, but to me, that was immediately, okay, red flag, you're a second-round guy at best.
Right.
Like,
that's frustrating. I can't even fathom why you would, and especially after you move on from Aaron Rodgers, you know your team needs help on offense to secure Jordan Love, whatever hopes and potential you think he has, and you go defense, but you don't even go best defensive player on the board. You don't even go best player position on the board. So, bro, man, we're playing checkers, and they're swimming right now. They're not even anywhere near the game we're playing. I mean, maybe, and who knows? Maybe this guy shows out, and by this time next year, we're all here with egg on our face. Who knows? But all conventional wisdom says no way. Yeah.
Well, and another guy we just forgot to mention that he went over as well, Nolan Smith.
Right.
Like, to me, I was sitting there, and I was like, oh, man, Green Bay could get Nolan Smith or Myles Murphy. They'd fit perfectly across from Rashawn Gary. And they did that, and I was just like, yeah, I'm okay with that as a Lions fan. Now, we'll see if this time next year, like you said, if that's the same case. But right now, I'm just like, yeah, I'm good that they got him. Go ahead. Like,
yeah, you can take him. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, hey, we and I alluded to this earlier. We talked about the guys that got picked up early. Obviously, Jalen Carter, Tyree Wilson. Myles Murphy gets picked up by the Bengals, which I like, but almost out of the first round, all the way at pick 29. Are you surprised by that after he was kind of looked at a little earlier?
I'm not really surprised. And what killed him was his lack of pass rush moves.
Yeah.
He's got a bull rush, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Doesn't really do the speed rush very well. Doesn't really have a rip or swim or a spin or anything like that. And I think him going with Sam Hubbard and those kind of guys in Cincinnati is a very good thing for him.
Yeah.
But when we did the edge rushers in our previous show, I said that if Myles Murphy develops some of these pass rush moves, he's up there with Will Anderson, with those kind of guys, with Tyree Wilson. He's a couple moves away from being a real problem for offensive lines.
Yeah. Yeah. And then that's a team that's already on the cusp, of greatness, being in the Super Bowl a couple years back and then last year getting all the way to the championship. So this only helps them. And to pick him up so early is definitely pretty solid. I want to go to one of your guys on the inside. We're going to D tackle for a second. You talked about him. You were excited about him, Mazi Smith. But were you this excited? Did you see him getting picked up 27th by Dallas?
I was shocked. He was a guy I had like 35 to 45 at best. Now, I think Dallas was in the same kind of scenario we were in with Witherspoon. I think they zeroed in on Dalton Kincaid being their guy, which is why Buffalo traded up, in my opinion. So when that happened, they're like, crap, what do we do? And maybe they didn't get a trade offer they liked, and then you start to look at what their weaknesses were last year, and they were not very good at stopping the run. Yeah. So you go get the best run-stuffing defensive tackle. Mazi Smith fits that defense very well in what they're trying to do. And especially if, by the sounds of it, they're moving Micah Parsons to almost DN full-time. From what I saw, maybe Ash and Janae can kind of touch on that in one of their shows. That's just what I was hearing. I don't know if I'm right or not. But if you've got him on the edge almost full-time, getting somebody like Mazi Smith to play down there beside him, kind of eat up some of those bodies for Micah, that's a great fit.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. And I'm excited that they got him. Now, they got him, well, correction. I'm not excited that they got him, okay, because it's my enemy. But I know this is a good move for them. But then you look like, I think, 2 or 3 picks down the line, and then you get Brian Brzee, who another guy that was, higher up on the list, and he drops down this far. Have you heard any reports on him? Because I didn't see him dropping.
That was right around where I had him. I had him as the third defensive tackle going, and right around that spot. You look earlier in the draft process, and some people had him up as high as 6 to Detroit.
Right.
And then you started to kind of see questions of, well, how much does he really want it? There were work ethic kind of came into question a little bit, plays off on tape. And then it kind of, defensive tackle is the same as where I was talking offensive tackle in our offensive line episode is what are you asking them to do? What scheme are you running? Do you need a gap plugging, run stuffing defensive tackle like Mazi Smith where Dallas needed him? Or do you need that smaller, more athletic guy that can push the pocket like a Kalijah Cansey, like a Brian Brzee? Because Brzee's small enough where he could almost play on that outside edge.
Right.
So, and he's athletic enough he could. But pairing him, like I just said, with Mazi Smith alongside Micah Parsons, if you put Brian Brzee on the same side as Cameron Jordan, that's you can run stunts and tricks and all sorts of stuff, and then you can still just push the pocket from the interior with him. Brian Brzee to New Orleans is a phenomenal fit, especially after they lost all their D tackles. That was right around where I actually had him in my final mock draft going to New Orleans. So
wow, and I think you're absolutely right in that it is going to be a great fit to restock that D line, because as we saw, a lot of their guys went to Atlanta, if not anywhere, if not elsewhere. And having a guy like this from Clemson who know how good he is, man, that could definitely help them. So not going to mention many other D tackles. I do want to mention Keanu Benton out of Wisconsin going to Pittsburgh. I love that pick. You're talking about, a team that I think could really benefit from having a big guy on the inside. I know there was conversation about them potentially looking at Deron Payne, just like you guys. So getting this and filling that need in the middle and having somebody to help Hayward, and then obviously you got TJ Watt on the edge. He could step in there and make things happen, man. I'm excited to see it.
Oh yeah, I think he's a day one starter. The only other D tackle I really want to mention is two more, I guess. Chicago getting Javon Dexter. I thought that was a phenomenal pick. I really liked that pick for them. And then one of my favorite guys towards the end of the draft process here, Adiba Ware from Northwestern. I'm not even going to try and say the first name.
Right.
But I loved what he brings to the table. And for Indianapolis to get him, pair him alongside Grover Stewart, DeForest Buckner, those kind of guys, he might even end up playing the end for them. He's that athletic. I mean, if you remember back to the combine, this is a guy that's 285 somewhere in there and ran a 4.49 40.
Right.
The guy can move.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what he does for Indianapolis.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're trying. They had a number of picks that were decent, even though we questioned their first one. But yeah, that's definitely a solid one. And the fact that he went in the fourth, I thought he would go a little bit higher than that, but I think it was a good fit for them. So I like what they got going on. We'll see. We shall definitely see.